Hello and welcome to another instalment of Unprecedented. As you can tell from my beard and hair, we are deep into Lockdown 3, so I hope you are faring better than I. This week's extract comes from Henry VI, Part 2, and our actors have put together a brilliant cut, taking bits from all over the play, but ostensibly the main action takes place in the year 1450 and throughout Act 4 of the play. Jack Cade, who is the first character you'll meet, is a common man and a fierce warrior. In fact, he loves portraying himself as the common man and a fierce warrior. And using his oratorical skills, as well as his charismatic skills with a sword, he has managed to swiftly whip up a people's revolt. He's stormed London, he's killed Stafford and his brother, and he's put to death many learned people based on the assumption that they have ruined the Commonwealth through grammar. Using rhetorical devices such as drain the swamp or we've had enough of experts, as well as legitimate local concerns as potential corruption or abuse of power, he has managed to incite great violence throughout the country. But at the moment of this scene, he's just stormed London, so whilst you're watching, imagine that we are mid-riot. He stood there with thousands of his allies behind him as he stages a public trial of Lord Saye. And Lord Saye, as you will see, is someone who very much epitomises the establishment. I hope you enjoy.
First, let's kill all the lawyers. And then go set London Bridge on fire, and if you can, burn the tower too. But, my lord, a prize. A prize! Here's the Lord Saye, which sold the towns in France. He that made us pay 1 20 15s and 1 shilling to the pound, the last subsidy. Well, he shall be beheaded for it 10 times. Ha! Thou say, thou search, nay, thou buckram, Lord. Now art thou within point blank of our jurisdiction regal. What canst thou answer to my majesty for giving up Normandy unto Monsieur Bassamassieu, the Dauphin of France? Be it known unto thee by these presents, even the presence of Lord Mortimer, that I am the besom that must sweep the court clean of such filth as thou art. Thou hast most treacherously corrupted the youth of the realm in erecting a grammar school. And whereas before our forefathers had no other books but the score and the tally, thou hast caused printing to be used, and contrary to the king, his crown and dignity, thou hast built a paper mill. It will be proved to thy face that thou hast men about thee that usually talk of a noun and a verb, and such abominable words as no Christian ear can endure to hear. Thou hast appointed justices of peace to call poor men before them about matters they were not able to answer. Moreover, thou hast put them in prison, and because they could not read, thou hast hanged them, when indeed only for that cause they have been most worthy to live. Thou dost ride in a footcloth, dost thou not?
What of that?
Marry, thou ought not to let thy horse wear a cloak, when honester men than thou go in their hose and doublets.
You men of Kent.
What say you of Kent?
But nothing but this. 'Tis bona terra malagens.
Oh, away with him, he speaks Latin.
Hear me speak, and bear me where you will. Kent, in the commentaries, Caesar writ, is termed the civilest place of this isle. Sweet is the country, because full of riches, the people, liberal, valiant, active, wealthy, which makes me hope you are not void of pity. I sold not Maine, I lost not Normandy, yet to recover them would lose my life. Justice, with favour, have I always done, but prayers and tears have moved me, gifts never could. When have I aught exacted at your hands but to maintain the king, the realm, and you? Large gifts have I bestowed on learned clerks, because my book preferred me to the king. And seeing ignorance is the curse of God, knowledge the wing wherein we fly to heaven, unless you be possessed with devilish spirits, you cannot but forbear to murder me. This tongue hath parleyed unto foreign kings for your behoof.
When struck'st thou one blow in the field?
Well, great men have reaching hands. Oft have I struck those that I never saw and struck them dead.
Oh, monstrous coward! What's to come behind, folks?
These cheeks are pale for watching for your good.
Give him a box of the ear, and that'll make him red again. Does thou quiver, man? Ah, I'll see if his head will stand steady on a pole or no. Take him away and behead him.
Tell me, wherein have I offended most? Have I affected wealth or honour? Speak. Are my chests filled up with extorted gold? Is my apparel sumptuous to behold? Whom have I injured, that ye seek my death? These hands are free from guiltless bloodshedding, this breast from harbouring foul, deceitful thoughts. Please, let me live.
I feel remorse in myself with his words, but I'll bridle it. He shall die, and it be but for pleading so well for his life. Away with him! He has a familiar under his tongue. He speaks not of the God's name. Go, take him away, I say, and strike off his head presently. And then break into his son-in-law's house, Sir James Cromer, and strike off his head, and bring them both upon 2 poles hither.
There you have it. That was Jamie Wilkes as Jack Cade and Tom Syms as the unfortunate Lord Saye. This is a play that I actually don't know hugely well, but if that's anything to draw on, I imagine we're going to be seeing quite a lot of revivals of it because of how prescient it is. One bit of information that I thought I'd drop on your laps in case you didn't know, and I think it puts a bit of a different spin on the scene, is that Jack Cade has very much been encouraged to stage this revolt by Richard, Duke of York. And what Richard has done is he's gone to Cade and basically asked him to pretend to be a Yorkist claimant to the throne whilst York is away. And York's plan in that is to watch from afar and see what public opinion is of this Yorkist claimant rising in power and trying to draw support. The idea being that if Cade manages to successfully whip up this revolt and storm London, then York will return and take the throne. So it's sort of like England's first and bloodiest focus group. And what's interesting about that is the men behind the men, you know, the money or the authority behind the militia that are able to stage revolts. And obviously there's an impeachment on the cards. I mean, Donald Trump has been impeached, but the trial in the Senate is next week. And obviously the point is, who incited the leaders of the insurrection? You know, so I'd encourage you guys to watch back and suddenly see how maybe the scene changes in your mind, given the information that maybe there's other people pulling the strings behind the scenes. I also thought it was really brilliantly directed by the 2 actors there in terms of their costumes. I thought they were very subtle nods, and it was quite interesting. Tom's decision as Lord Saye to keep his mask on, somewhat trying to show that, you know, I'm trying to be responsible, etc. I have your best interests at heart. And I wonder whether or not you found that compelling. And much like Jane spoke about last week with Julius Caesar, which is a brilliant companion piece to this, the rhetoric used is very visceral and tribal. I mean, it starts with obviously one of the very famous lines of "Let's kill all the lawyers." But I'd encourage you guys to watch it again and think about how Jack Cade is able to very successfully and very swiftly, as I mentioned in the intro, whip up this revolt. Of course, the layout of the time was that the country was kind of in some turmoil and recent military losses, etc. But still, you know, it does take oratorical skill, which Shakespeare, I think, writes incredibly well, in order to get supporters to be behind this. Anyway, I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts, and I hope you're very well.